MzeroA Nation, welcome into day 23, my favorite number, as you know. I mean, born May 23rd, Michael Jordan's 23, like Jason Shepard, Michael Jordan, I think they go hand in hand. That was a bad joke. We're talking about the science of learning to fly, is what we're talking about today. And you all know we have our trademarked Aviation Mastery Method. Ground school members, you live it every day when you log in and go through your courses. If you've read Aviation Mastery, you're familiar with the Aviation Mastery Method. You're familiar that one of those concepts in there is really three big pillars that make up the Aviation Mastery Method. And the third pillar is the ideal flight lesson. And I want to share with you just some of what goes into the science of learning to fly and the science of the ideal flight lesson. You see, so often we're taught that you fly every day, you'll get through it faster. And that's actually not true. In fact, flying every single day can actually slow down the learning process, because I want to share with you something that sounds so basic but is truly profound when you look at the trials and the studies that back it up. It's this idea that rest, well, let's just call it sleep, because that's what it really is. Sleep is learning. Rest between lessons is learning. In fact, the studies show that fine motor skills and obtaining these big and fine motor skills require space, something called spaced repetition, as well as sleep and rest to consolidate motor skills into the long-term memory. The ideal flight lesson spacing is about every other day. In a perfect world, it'd be a Monday, Wednesday, Friday is how often we would fly. And I realize that's not feasible for everybody, but you want to try to avoid the back-to-back. I can only fly weekends, so I can do Saturdays and Sundays. If you only fly weekends, why don't we just fly after work on Friday and then fly again on Sunday, after church or whatever it is for you, right? Have at least a day in between flight lessons. And sleep is learning. Rest is learning, to consolidate that into the long-term memory. Now, there's many aspects of the ideal flight lesson. Let me just share one more with you. It's the power of the post-flight brief. And again, we have science here to back this up. The post-flight brief is one of the most important things you can be doing. Flight instructors, if you're not giving your students a post-flight brief, you're doing them a disservice, actually. Students, if you're not receiving a post-flight briefing, if it's like, okay, let me sign your logbook, my next student's waiting, so see you next week, and on to the next student. And some schools do that, it's unfortunate. You're getting a disservice done. I like the post-flight brief. I love the post-flight brief, but a post-flight briefing done right. You see, when you come out of the airplane, let's just say we did steep turns, slow flight, and stalls. You sit down with your instructor, yet you still have this high of flying, no pun intended. And in fact, the research shows that the best time to do a briefing and to review what we just did after a very kind of exhilarating event, and flying certainly is that, is about an hour to 24 hours afterwards, which isn't feasible in aviation because students are always coming through. So instructors and students, hear me out on this. Give the post-flight brief, but students, grab your phone and open up voice memos and set it down there and record the post-flight brief and listen and nod your head and acknowledge it and take good notes. Hey, Jason, your steep turns were really good today, but your slow flight needs some work. Added in flaps was really, really rough. And remember, on those turns, it's more rudder work. The ailerons aren't doing a whole lot. And they give you this whole post-flight brief and you're just going, and you're thinking about your flight and everything else that happened. You're so excited from flying. You could be bummed from flying too. We've been there if you had a bad lesson as well. Record it. So when you get home that night or even the next day, you can listen back to your post-flight brief and then start to consolidate it, play that Monday morning quarterback and listen to that again. I know a lot of great flight schools as well that not only give that debrief, that post-flight brief, but will also take notes and transcribe what happened. We did this, it was their first time pre-flight on their own, kind of review everything, give some congratulations, give some constructive feedback, and email it to the students as well. I have the auditory, I can read it, different take with that. You have to get that post-flight brief. So as you'll learn in the Aviation Mastery book, gosh, the whole thing is about the science of learning, decision making. And of course, we get into the nitty gritty fun stuff like the tech and everything else and landings and radio communications. But the foundational chapters are on the science of learning. If that interests you, I hope you have a copy of the Aviation Mastery book, aviationmastery.com. And we dive deeper into the concepts of the Aviation Mastery Method, things like the ideal flight lesson and Top Gun learning and other just very cool concepts that we really flesh out in there for you. Space out your lessons, sleep is learning, and get or give a post-flight brief. MzeroA Nation, I can't wait to read your comments below this video on YouTube, Facebook, MzeroA.com, wherever you consume this content. Thank you for your shares. Thank you for the likes, the little thumbs up. It's oxygen to us. Your comments are our oxygen. You're a blessing to us. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And most importantly, remember that a good pilot is always learning. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you.